Welcome everybody to the stream. This is Through the Tomes. Today I'll be reading from the Divine Comedy, particularly Dante's Inferno. If you want to see more content like this, make sure to click the follow button on here and click a link on my profile that'll lead you to my YouTube channel where I also narrate books. And let's get started. Inferno Section 1. Midway in the journey of our life, I came to myself in a dark wood, for the straight way was lost. Ah, how hard it is to tell the nature of that wood. Savage, dense, and harsh. The very thought of it renews my fear. It is so bitter, death is hardly more so. But to set forth the good I found, I will recount the other things I saw. How I came there, I cannot really tell. I was so full of sleep, when I forsook the one true way. But when I reached the foot of a hill, there, where the valley ended, that had pierced my heart with fear, looking up, I saw its shoulders, arrayed in the first light of the planet, that leads men straight, no matter what their road. Then the fear that had endured in the lake of my heart all the night I spent in such distress was calmed. And as one who, with laboring breath, has escaped from the deep to the shore, turns and looks back at the perilous waters, so my mind, still in flight, turned back to look once more upon the pass, no mortal being ever left alive. After I rested my wearied flesh a while, I took my way again along the desert slope, my firm foot always lower than the other. But now, near the beginning of the steep, a leopard light and swift and covered with a spotted pelt refused to back away from me, but so impeded, barred the way, that many times I turned to go back down. It was the hour of morning, when the sun mounts with those stars that shone with it, when God's own love first set in motion those fair things, so that despite that beast with gaudy fur, I still could hope for good, encouraged. By the hour of the day and the sweet season, only to be struck by fear when I beheld a lion in my way. He seemed about to pounce, his head held high and furious with hunger, so that the air appeared to tremble at him. And then a she-wolf, who, all hide and bones, seemed to charge with all the appetites that had made many living in wretchedness, so weighed my spirits down with terror, which welled up at the sight of her, that I lost hope of making the ascent. And like one who rejoices in his gains, but when the time comes and he loses, turns all his thought to sadness and lament, such did the restless beast make me, coming against me, step by step. It drove me down to where the sun is silent. While I was fleeing to a lower place, before my eyes a figure showed, faint, in the wide silence. When I saw him in that vast desert, "Have mercy on me, whatever you are," I cried, "whether shade or living man." He answered, "Not a man, though once I was. My parents were from Lombardy. Mantua was their homeland. I was born sub Julio, though late in his time, and lived at Rome under good Augustus, in an age of false and lying gods. I was a poet, and I sang, the just son of Acinus come from Troy, after proud Ilium was put to flame. But you, why are you turning back to misery? Why do you not climb the peak that gives delight, origin and cause of every joy? Are you then Virgil, the fountainhead, that pours so full a stream of speech?" I answered him, my head bent low in shame. O glory and light of all other poets, let my long study and great long avail, that made me delve so deep into your volume. You are my teacher and my author. You are the one from whom alone I took the noble style that has brought me honor. See the beast that forced me to turn back. Save me from her, famous sage. She makes my veins and pulses tremble. It is another path that you must follow, he answered, when he saw me weeping, if you would flee this wild and savage place. For the beast that moves you to cry out lets no man pass her way, but so besets him that she slays him. Her nature is so vicious and malign, her greedy appetite is never sated. After she feeds, she is hungrier than ever. Many are the creatures that she mates with, and there will yet be more until the hound shall come who will make her die in pain. He shall not feed on lands or lucre, but on wisdom, love, and power. Between felt and felt shall be his birth. He shall be the salvation of low-lying Italy, for which maiden Camilla, Eurylochus, Turnus, and Nisus died of their wounds. He shall hunt the beast through every town, till he has sent her back to hell, whence primal envy set her loose. Therefore, for your sake, I think it wise you follow me. I will be your guide, leading you from here through an eternal place, where you shall hear despairing cries and see those ancient souls in pain, as they bewail their second death. Then you shall see the ones who are content to burn because they hope to come, whenever it may be among the blessed. Should you desire to ascend to these, you'll find a soul more fit to lead than I. I'll leave you in her care when I depart. For the emperor who has his seat on high wills not, because I was a rebel to his law, that I should make my way into his city. In every part he reigns, and there he rules. There is his city and his lofty seat. Happy the one whom he elects to be there. And I answered, Poet, I entreat you, by the God you did not know, so that I may escape this harm and worse. Lead me to the realms you've just described, that I may see St. Peter's gate, and those you tell me are so sorrowful. Then he set out, and I came on behind him. Inferno Section 2. Day was departing, and the darkened air released the creatures of the earth from their labor, and I alone, prepared to face the struggle of the way and of the pity of it, which memory, unerred, shall retrace. O muses, O lofty genius, aid me now. O memory that sat down what I saw, here shall your worth be shown. I began. Poet, you who guide me, consider if my powers will suffice, before you trust me to this arduous passage. You tell of the father of Silvius, that he, still subject to corruption, went to the eternal world while in flesh, but that the adversary of all evil showed such favor to him, considering who and what he was, and the high sequel that would spring from him, seems not unfitting to a man who understands, for in the Empyrean he was chosen, to father holy Rome and her dominion. Both of these established, if we would speak the truth, to be the sacred precedent where successors of great Peter have their throne. On this journey for which you grant him glory, he heard the words that prompted him to victory and prepared the papal mantle. Later, the chosen vessel went there to bring back confirmation of our faith, the first step in our journey to salvation. But why should I go there? Who allows it? I am not Anus, nor am I Paul. Neither I nor any think me fit for this. And so, if I commit myself to come, I fear it may be madness. You are wise. You understand what I cannot express. And as one who unwills what he has willed, changing his intent on second thought, so that he quite gives over what he has begun, such a man I was on that dark slope. With too much thinking I had undone the enterprise so quick in its inception. If I have rightly understood your words, replied the shade of that great soul, your spirit is assailed by cowardice, which many a time so weighs upon a man it turns him back from noble enterprise, the way a beast shies from a shadow. To free you from this fear, I'll tell you why I came and what I heard, when first I felt compassion for you. I was among the ones who are suspended, when a lady called me, so blessed and so fair, that I implored her to command me. Her eyes shone brighter than the stars, gentle and clear the words she spoke to me, an angel's voice was in her speech. O courteous Mantuan spirit, whose flame continues in the world, and shall continue while the world endures, my friend, who is no friend of fortune, is so hindered on his way upon the desert slope, that in his terror he has turned back. And from what I hear of him in heaven, I fear he has gone so far astray, that I arose too late to help him. Set out, and with your polished words, and whatever else is needed for his safety, go to his aid, that I may be consoled. I who bid you go am Beatrice. I come from where I most desire to return. The love that moved me makes me speak. And when I am before my Lord, often will I offer praise of you to him. Then she fell silent, and I began. O lady of such virtue that by it alone the human race surpasses all that lies within the smallest compasses of the heavens, so pleased I am at your command that my consent, were it already given, would be given late. You have but to make your desire known, but tell me, why do you not hesitate to descend into the center of the earth, from the unbounded space you long for? Since you are so eager to know, she answered, I shall be brief in telling you why I am not afraid to enter here. We should fear those things alone that have the power to harm. Nothing else is frightening. I am made such by God's grace that your affliction does not touch, nor can these fires assail me. There is a gracious lady in heaven, so moved by pity at his peril, she breaks stern judgment, there above, and lets me send you to him. She summoned Lucy and made this request. Your faithful one is now in need of you, and I commend him to your care. Lucy, the enemy of every cruelty, arose and came to where I sat, at venerable Rachel's side, and said, Beatrice, true praise of God, why do you not help the one who loved you, so that for your sake he left that vulgar herd? Do you not hear the anguish in his tears? Do you not see the death besetting him, on the swollen river where the sea cannot prevail? Never were men on earth so swift to seek their good or to escape their harm as I. After these words were spoken, to descend here from my blessed seat, trusting to the noble speech that honors you, and those who have paid it heed. After she had said these things to me, she turned away her eyes now bright with tears, making me more eager to set out. And so I came to you just as she wished. I saved you from the beast, denying the short way to the mountain of delight. What then? Why? Why do you delay? Why do you let such cowardice rule your heart? Why are you not more spirited and sure, when 3 such blessed ladies care for you in heaven's court, and my words promise so much good? As little flowers bent and closed with chill of night when the sun lights them, stand all open on their stems, such in my failing strength did I become, and so much courage poured into my heart that I began as one made resolute. Oh, how compassionate was she to help me, how courteous were you, so ready to obey the truthful words she spoke to you. Your words have made my heart so eager for the journey that I've returned to my first intent. Set out then, for one will prompt us both. You are my leader, you are my lord and master. I said to him, and when he moved ahead, I entered on the deep and savage way. Inferno Section 3. Through me the way to the city of woe, through me the way to everlasting pain, through me the way among the lost. Justice moved my Maker on high, divine power made me, wisdom supreme and primal love. Before me nothing was but things eternal, and eternal I endure. Abandon all hope, you who enter here. These words, dark in hue, I saw inscribed over an archway, and then I said, Master, for me their meaning is hard, and he, as one who understood, here you must banish all distrust, here must all cowardice be slain. We have come to where I said, you would see the miserable sinners who have lost the good of the intellect. And after he had put his hand on mine with a reassuring look that gave me comfort, he led me towards things unknown to man. Now sighs, loud wailing, lamentation were sounded through the starless air, so that I too began to weep. Unfamiliar tongues, horrendous accents, words of suffering, cries of rage, voices loud and faint, the sound of slapping hands, all these made a tumult, always whirring in that black and timeless air. As sand is swirled in a whirlwind, and I, my head encircled by air, said, Master, what is this I hear, and what people are these so overcome by pain? And he to me, this miserable state is borne by the wretched souls of those who lived without disgrace, yet without praise. They intermingle with that wicked band of angels not rebellious and not faithful to God, who held themselves apart, loath to impair by its beauty. Heaven cast them out, and depth of hell does not receive them, lest on their account the evil angels gloat. And I, Master, what is so grievous to them, that they lament so bitterly? He replied, I can tell you in few words. They have no hope of death, and their blind life is so abject that they are envious of every other lot. The world does not permit report of them. Mercy and justice hold them in contempt. Let us not speak of them, look and pass by. And I, all eyes, saw a whirling banner that ran so fast it seemed as though it never could find rest. Behind it came so long a file of people that I could not believe death had undone so many. After I recognized a few of these words, I saw and knew the shade of them, who, through cowardice, made the great refusal. At once with certainty I understood this was the worthless crew, hateful alike to God and to his foes. These wretches, who never were alive, were naked and beset by stinging flies and wasps, that made their faces stream with blood, which, mingled with their tears, was gathered at their feet by loathsome worms. And then, fixing my gaze farther on, I saw souls standing on the shore of a wide river. And so I said, Master, permit me first to know who they are, and then what inner law makes them so eager for the crossing, or so they seem in this dim light. And he to me, You shall know these things, but not before we stay our steps on the mournful shore of Acheron. Then my eyes cast down with shame, fearing my words displeased him. I did not speak until we reached that stream. And now, coming toward us in a boat, an old man, his hair white with age, cried out, Woe unto you, who wicked souls! Give up all hope of ever seeing heaven. I come to take you to the other shore, into eternal darkness, into heat and chill. And you there, you living soul, move aside from these now dead. But then he saw I did not move. He said, By another way, another port, not here, you'll come to shore and cross. A lighter ship must carry you. And my leader, Charon, do not torment yourself. It is so willed where will and power are one, and ask no more. That stilled the shaggy jowls of the pilot of the livid marsh, about whose eyes burned wheels of flame. But those souls naked and desolate lost their color. With chattering teeth they heard his brutal words. They blasphemed God, their parents, the human race, the place, the time, the seed of their begetting and their birth. Then weeping bitterly they drew together to the accursed shore that waits, for everyone who fears not God. Charon the demon, with eyes of glowing coals, beckons to them, herds them all aboard, striking anyone who slackens with his oar. Just as in autumn the leaves fall away one, and then another, until the bow sees all its spoils upon the ground. So the wicked seed of Adam fling themselves one by one from shore at his signal, as does a falcon to its summons. Thus they depart over dark water, and before they have landed on the other side, another crowd is gathered on the shore. "My son," said the courteous master, "all those who die in the wrath of God assemble here from every land, and they are eager to cross the river, for the justice of God so spurs them on. Their very fear is turning to longing. No good soul ever crosses at this place. Thus, if Charon complains on your account, now you can grasp the meaning of his words." When he had ended, the gloomy plain shook with such force, the memory of my terror makes me again break out in sweat. From the weeping ground there sprang a wind, flaming with vermilion light, which overmastered all my senses, and I dropped like a man pulled down by sleep. I'm going to take a quick drink, real quick. Inferno Section 4. A heavy thunderclap broke my deep sleep so that I started up like one, shaken awake by force. With rested eyes I stood and looked about me, then fixed my gaze to make out where I was. I found myself upon the brink of an abyss of suffering, filled with the roar of endless woe. It was full of vapor, dark and deep. Straining my eyes towards the bottom, I could see nothing. "Now let us descend into the blind world down there," began the poet, gone pale. "I will be first, and you will come after me." And I, noting his pallor, said, "How shall I come if you're afraid, you who give me comfort when I falter?" And he to me, "The anguish of the souls below us paints my face with pity you mistake for fear. Let us go, for the long road calls us." Thus he went first and made me enter the first circle girding the abyss. Here, as far as I could tell by listening, was no lamentation other than the sighs that kept the air forever trembling. These came from grief without torment, borne by vast crowds of men and women and little children. My master began, "You do not ask about the souls you see. I want you to know, before you venture farther, they did not sin. Though they have merit, that is not enough, for they were unbaptized, denied the gateway to the faith that you profess. And if they lived before the Christians lived, they did not worship God all right. And among these I am one. For such defects, and for no other fault, we are lost and afflicted, but in this, that without hope we live in longing." When I understood, great sadness seized my heart, for then I knew that beings of great worth were here suspended in this limbo. "Tell me, master, tell me, sir," I began, seeking assurance in the faith that conquers every doubt. "Did ever anyone either by his own or by another's merit go forth from here and rise to blessedness?" And he who understood my covet speech. I was new to this condition when I saw a mighty one descend crowned with the sign of victory. Out of our midst he plucked the shade of our first parent, of Abel his son, of Noah, and of Moses, obedient and given laws. The patriarch Abraham, David the king, Israel with his father and his sons, and with Rachel, for whom he served so long, as well as many others, and he made them blessed. And I would have you know, before these no human souls were saved. We did not halt our movement as he spoke, but all the while were passing through a wood. I mean a wood of thronging spirits. We had not yet gone far from where I'd slept when he beheld a blaze of light that overcame a hemisphere of darkness. Though still a good way from it, yet not so far but I discerned an honorable company was gathered here. O you who honor art and knowledge, why are these so honored they are set apart from the condition of the rest? And he answered, their honorable fame, which echoes in your life above, gains favor in heaven, which thus advances them. Just then I heard a voice that said, honor the loftiest of poets, his shade returns that had gone forth. When the voice had paused and there was silence, I saw 4 worthy shades approach, their countenances neither sad nor joyful. The good master spoke, take note of him who holds that sword in hand, and comes as lord before the 3. He is Homer, sovereign poet. Next comes Horace the satirist. Ovid the 3rd, the last is Lucian. Since each is joined to me in the name of the one voice, uttered, they do me honor, and doing so, do well. There I saw assembled the fair school of the lord of loftiest song, soaring like an eagle far above the rest. After they conversed a while, they turned to me with signs of greeting, and my master smiled at this. And then they showed me greater honor still, for they made me one of their company, so that I became the 6th amidst such wisdom. Thus we went onward to the light, speaking of things that here are best unsaid, just as there it was fitting to express them. We came to the foot of a noble castle, encircled 7 times by towering walls, defended round about by a fair stream. Over the stream we moved as on dry land. Through 7 gates I entered with these sages, until we came to a fresh green meadow. People were there with grave, slow-moving eyes, and visages of great authority. They seldom spoke, and then in gentle tones, when we withdrew over to one side, into an open space high in the light, we could observe them all. There before me, on the enameled green, the great spirits were revealed. In my heart I exult at what I saw. I saw Electra with many of her line, of whom I recognized Hector, Aeneas, and Caesar in arms with his falcon eyes. I saw Camilla and Penthesilea. Seated apart I saw King Latinus, and next to him Lavania, his daughter. I saw that Brutus who drove out, Tarquinius, Lucretia, Julia, Marcia, and Cornelia, and Saladin I saw alone apart. When I raised my eyes a little higher, I saw the master of those who knew, sitting among his philosophic kindred, eyes trained on him, all show him honor. In front of all the rest and nearest him, I saw Socrates and Plato. I saw Democritus, who ascribes the world to chance, Diogenes, Anaxagoras, and Thales, Empedocles, Heraclitus, and Zeno. I saw the skilled collector of the qualities of things, I mean, Dioscorides, and I saw Orpheus, Cicero, Linus, and moral Sinessa, Euclid the geometer, and Ptolemy, Hippocrates, Avicenna, Galen, and Averroes, who wrote the weighty glosses. I cannot give account of all of them, for the length of my theme so drives me on, that often the telling comes short of the fact. The company of 6 falls off to 2, and my wise leader brings me by another way out of the still, into the trembling air, and I come to a place where nothing shines. Inferno Section 5. Thus I descended from the first circle, down into the second, which girds a smaller space but greater agony to goad lament. There stands Minos, snarling, terrible. He examines each offender at the entrance, judges, and dispatches as he uncoils himself. I mean that when the ill-begotten soul stands there before him, it confesses all, and that accomplished judge of sins decides what place in hell is fit for it, then coils his tail around himself to count how many circles down the soul must go. Always before him stands a crowd of them, going to judgment each in turn. They tell, they hear, and then are hurled down. O you who come to this abode of pain, said Minos when he saw me, pausing, in the exercise of his high office. Beware how you come in and whom you trust. Don't let the easy entrance fool you. And my leader to him. Why all this shouting? Hinder not his destined journey. It is so willed, where will and power are one, and ask no more. Now I can hear the screams of agony. Now I have come, where the great wailing beats upon me. I reached a place mute of all light, which bellows as the sea in tempest, tossed by conflicting winds. The hellish squall, which never rest, sweeps spirits in such headlong rush, tormenting and whirling strikes. Caught in that path of violence, they shriek, weep, and lament. Then how they curse the power of God. I understand that to such torment, the carnal sinners are condemned, they who make reason subject to desire. As in cold weather, the wings of starlings bear them up in the wide, dense flocks. So does that blast propel the wicked spirits. Here and there, down and up, it drives them. Never are they comforted by hope of rest or even lesser punishment, just as cranes chant their mournful songs, making a long line in the air. Thus I saw approach, heaving plaintive sighs, shades lifted on that turbulence, so that I said, Master, who are these whom the black air lashes? The first of them about whom you would hear, he then replied, was empress over many tongues. She was so given to the vice of lechery, she made lust licit in her law, to take away the blame she had incurred. She is Seramarus, of whom we read, that she, once Ninus' wife, succeeded him. She held away in the land that sultans rule. Here is she who broke faith with the ashes of Sychaeus and slew herself for love. The next is wanton Cleopatra. See Helen for those sake so many years of ill-rolled past, and see the great Achilles who battled at the last with love. See Paris, Tristan, and he who showed me more than 1,000 shades, naming as he pointed, whom love had parted from our life. When I heard my teacher name the ladies and the knights of old, pity overcame me, and I almost lost my senses. I began, Poet, gladly would I speak with these two that move together, and seem to be so light upon the wind. And he, once they are near, you will see. If you entreat them by the love that leads them, they will come. As soon as the wind had bent them to us, I raised my voice. O wearied souls! If it is not forbidden, come speak with us. As doves summoned by desire, their wings outstretched and motionless, move on the air, borne by their will to the sweet nest, so did these leave the troop where Dido is, coming to us through the malignant air, such force had my affectionate call. O living creature, gracious and kind, that come through somber air to visit us, who stain the world with blood. If the King of the universe were our friend, he would pray that he might give us peace, since you show pity for our grievous plight. We long to hear and speak of that which you desire to speak and know, here, while the wind was calmed. On that shore where the river Po, with all its tributaries slow, to peaceful flow, there I was born. Love, quick to kindle in the gentle heart, seized this man with the fair form taken from me. The way of it afflicts me still. Love which absolves no one beloved from loving, seized me so strongly with this charm that, as you see, it has not left me yet. Love brought us to one death. Kaina waits for him who quenched our lives. These words were born from them to us. And then I'd heard those two afflicted souls. I bowed my head and held it low, until at last the poet said, What are your thoughts? In answer I replied, Oh, how many sweet thoughts, what great desire, have brought them to this woeful pass. Then I turned to them again to speak, and I began, Francesca, your torments make me weep for grief and pity. But tell me, in that season of sweet sighs, how and by what signs did love acquaint you with your hesitant desires? And she to me, There is no greater sorrow than to recall our time of joy. In wretchedness, and this your teacher knows. But if you feel such longing to know the first root of our love, I shall tell as one who weeps in telling. One day, to pass the time in pleasure, we read to Lancelot how love enthralled him. We were alone, without the least misgiving. More than once that reading made our eyes meet and drained the color from our faces. Still, it was a single instant overcame us. When we read how the longed for smile was kissed by so renowned a lover, this man, who never shall be parted from me, all trembling, kissed me on my mouth, and Galeotto was the book, and he wrote it. That day we read in it too, no further. While the one spirit said this, the other wept, so that for pity I swooned as if in death, and down I fell as a dead body falls. And this is where we're going to stop for now. Tune in next time. I'm going to stream every other Wednesday. We'll be reading more from the Divine Comedy, specifically Dante's Inferno. Again, check out my profile for the link to my YouTube channel through the tomes for more content, and I will see you next time.